Irishmen and Irish women, in the name of God and the dead generations from which he receives her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. The proclamation was signed by 7 men. These 7 men the British shot, but their deeds had inspired, and soon others would answer the summons to our flag. Loyal to the cause of Pearson Connolly and to that alone, in 1923, 7 men were brought to the other side of this grim wall. These 7 men the Free States shot. They were killed by British bullets, in men in dyed green British uniforms, enforcing British policy in Ireland, executed for defending that Republic of Pearse and Clark. These were Kerrymen who could not be bribed or bullied, fooled or flattered. They had declared for a republic and would live under no other law. Tonight we remember 4 of that gallant group: Jimmy Daly of Cunnakin-Dove, Big Jack Clifford of Carsaveen, Michael Brosnan of Ballymackelligot, and James Hanlon of Causeway. What the British would not give, great men and women would take. As a result of the struggles and sacrifices of these 4 men and their comrades, British rule in Ireland became impossible. But our imperial masters decreed that if Ireland could not be ruled by the crown, then it would be ruled for the crown. Weak men would break what great hands had built. The English knew the Irish well. They knew who would betray and who could be bought. Principles and ideals would be exchanged for power and privilege. The oath to the Republic would be exchanged for an oath to the crown. A republic of equals would yield to a state of new elites. There would not be a nation once again, but a divided dominion within the empire. Michael Collins' promised stepping stones to national independence quickly became the headstones over the graves of those who would not be deceived, over the graves of those who could not be fooled, over the graves of those who would not betray. Such men were James Hanlon, Jack Clifford, Jimmy Daly, Michael Brosnan. These men had no price. They would not be deceived. They would be true to the last. And for them, the end came all too soon, a century ago at Ballymullen jail wall. Jack Clifford, James Hanlon, Jimmy Daly and Michael Brosnan came from the 4 corners of Kerry, each a soldier defending the Republic against all odds. And that is why they died. Those who had shot them had hoped that their cause would die with them, that Kerry would turn its back on the Republic, that such brave men would quickly be forgotten. But Paddy Daly, Dave Nelligan, Mulcahy and O'Higgins knew little of the history of this county. The cause of liberty had survived Elizabeth's armies, Cromwell's massacres. Dispossessed people carried it to the mountains. A famine could not starve it. It would not die in the gallows with brave white boys, moonlighters and fenians. The cause of freedom would not die with the shooting of 4 young patriots on that cold January morning a century ago. Your presence here this evening bears testament to the fact that the spirit of Clifford, Hanlon, Daly and Brosnan lives on in Kerry, a county that owes them a debt that will not be repaid until the cause for which they died finally comes to pass, and Ireland becomes a nation, unfettered by foreign control from its centre to its sea. The wise men have told us that what happened a century ago should be left in the past. They would have you forget what happened within these grim walls. Remembrance of such events serves no purpose, they tell us, in today's Ireland. Let the door be closed. But we have long learned that a people who are not proud of their past can have no hope in their future. The ideals of Jack Clifford, Jimmy Daly, James Hanlon and Michael Brosnan have become an embarrassment to those in power and those in their pay. Such brave and selfless men have become an inconvenience in today's state where individualism has become the creed. Why would anybody do anything for anybody except in self-interest is a question all too often asked in our country, where the pursuit of fame and gold has become the only goal. sacrifice for a noble ideal has become incomprehensible to generations of well-paid and pensioned politicians and to those who will be deceived by them. It is best to forget those who suffered for the cause, those who gave all and asked for nothing in return, those who died for your freedom, those 4 men who died by this wall for your liberty. But we are proud to remember Jack Clifford, proud to commemorate James Hanlon, proud to honour Michael Brosnan, proud to salute brave Jimmy Daly. The fools can rage. We will not forget these brave men, for they were true to the cause of liberty until the end. Those soldiers would not have died that January morning if they had signed the pledge to give up the fight. But for them to sign would have been to betray, to abandon, to forsake that which generations of Irish men and women have suffered and died for. They would not be like their killers had become. They would follow the higher road, the noble path, the lonely journey of Pearson Connolly, Robert Emmet and Kevin Barry. They did not ask to be remembered, but remember we should. To forget would be our betrayal. To commemorate is our honour. Jack Clifford, James Hanlon, Michael Brosnan and Jimmy Daly are tonight remembered, not with sadness or anger, but with pride. Fittingly, it is those that suffered the most that history honours, that history recalls, not those who can inflict the most. In March 1921, the British executed Frank Flood, a friend and comrade of Kevin Barry. 2 years later, Flood's younger brother, Ed Flood, commanded firing squads that ended the lives of these 4 Republicans at this wall. Drunk with power and drunk on the day, Captain Flood's memory had been easily bought. Another Irishman doing England's bidding. We know them all too well. No final sacraments for the condemned men. No final goodbye from Father Ferris, the Ballymullen chaplain, who put the edicts of the bishops before the laws of God, as he turned the other way while torturers tormented the defenceless. Who were the sinners on that January morning? Certainly not those 4 men who whispered their trembling prayers in that cold prison yard. The victims of war are always counted by the dead, but those that suffered most and the longest are those that are left behind to mourn. They are never recalled. Their lifelong suffering is forgotten, their loss unending as an ungrateful state moved on. To forget became convenient, to remember became subversive. The bereaved too paid the price for our freedom, while others, those who would abandon the cause for which these noble soldiers fell, would benefit with power and privilege, with pensions and political office from the sacrifice of our patriot dead. The families of James Hanlon, Jack Clifford, Jimmy Daly and Michael Brosnan would not. These men had parents and siblings, nieces and nephews, friends and comrades, all of whom mourned their loss and would do so all their lives. They too paid the tariff for our liberty. John F. Kennedy once remarked, "The measure of any country is not alone the great people it produces, but how such great people are remembered." Rightly may it be asked, how stands Ireland today? There are many who would have us forget, but there are always the few who will remember those who fell in Ireland's cause. Jimmy Daly, Jack Clifford, Michael Brosnan, James Hanlon were true and steadfast soldiers of the Republic, and for that they died, and that is why they are and will be remembered. The fools, the fools, the fools, they have left even more of our Fenian dead, while Ireland holds the graves of Jack Clifford, Michael Brosnan, James Hanlon, Jimmy Daly. Ireland unfree will never be at peace.